studios is a defense expert, retired Major General P.K. Sehgal. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, first of all, your reactions to this ghastly terror attack. 17 soldiers have lost their lives and 19 have been severely injured.
This is an exceptionally grave provocation on part of Pakistan. The attack is totally reprehensible and condemnable. It's a cowardice that has been indicated to the entire world. The Fidai chose a soft target and attacked it this morning. They were willing to pay the price of the life, and out of every 8 to 10 efforts that they make at infiltration, one odd succeeds, wherein we paid this price.
Right.
It is absolutely essential that the government of India considers all its options and ups the ante.
Right. How significant would you say is the fact that this attack comes 2 years after the attack in 2014 in December, when a similar attack had taken place? Experts are saying that 2 years earlier, 6 terrorists were killed. 4 terrorists have been gunned down this time. However, another Fidai attack in a similar way. How do you look at this? Is there a message here that we should read?
The message is very clear that we have to beef up the security of the administrative areas as well, because in 2014 the attack was approximately very nearly a similar place. It was an administrative camp. Here it is an administrative camp of a battalion headquarter. There it was an administrative camp of the brigade headquarter, where a larger number of people were involved, but fortunately the casualties were very less vis-a-vis this attack. But defensive tactics by themselves across the globe will never succeed. Pakistan has been doing this against us for years on end.
Right.
And we've been wanting to beef up our our security on the border by saying that we will put in laser walls and we will put in this and we will put in this and we will put in this, whatever you may do so. Unless you back it up by offensive action, the enemy will always succeed. And here, these terrorists are not non-state actors. The entire world now knows that they are state actors. They are extension of the Pakistani army and they are extension of the Pakistani ISI. They fully abetted, trained, appropriately equipped, intelligence given to them. Hence, they are the Pakistani nation virtually at war with the Indian nation.
Right.
4 times they tried to do this in 1948, 65, 71, 99.
Right.
The Pakistanis understand the consequences of India as a nation taking it up.
Right.
And now it's time for India as a nation to teach
retaliate.
Pakistan an appropriate lesson,
Right.
where we got to increase the cost by an order of magnitude for every act of theirs, which is virtually insane in today's environment.
Right. And even as India continues to take a very strong stand against terror, continuously we've heard the Prime Minister, we've heard the Defence Minister speaking out against terror. We've heard them speaking out on the world stage as well about India's strong stand against terror. How big an impact do you think an attack like this, could have on the position that India holds as far as terrorism is concerned?
It strengthens our outlook and our attitude and our exhortations to the entire world by an order of magnitude. We've categorically indicated to the entire world, to everybody who matters, that this is the biggest threat, emerging threat to humankind, not only to India, not only to Bangladesh or Afghanistan, but across Europe and elsewhere in the world. And everybody ought to define what terrorism is and ought to act in a concerted manner to deal with this menace which is beginning to threaten the peace and tranquility of the entire world at large.
Right. Even all other political leaders are calling out for strong action now, and they're saying that this is a clear attempt to destabilize the peace and harmony in the country. Home Minister he's holding a high-level security meeting even as we speak. What would you say are the major concerns that India should address so that such an incident does not happen again?
We are very fortunate that every time India has been challenged by anybody from across the border, whether it be China or by Pakistan or anybody else for that matter, the entire country has stood unitedly behind its armed forces. Here too today the entire country is standing solidly behind the armed forces. The opposition too is keen for the government to act. What the government is going to do, I am very certain that the Defence Ministry, the Army, the government of the day is very clearly aware of what they ought to do.
Right.
And they are going to do something, but discussing that or talking about as to what we're going to do
Right.
would be premature.
Right.
on
What
the
I was
TV.
asking was about the major concerns at this point of time, because on the one hand, we've seen how the government has reached out to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, continuously reaching out to the youth, you know, not to participate and not to be misled by these kind of elements that mislead them. What other concerns at this point in terms of security situation?
You see, the Pakistani Prime Minister is going to address the UN General Assembly on 21st September.
Right.
They are absolutely hell-bent to hit international headlines at this point of time. In fact, intelligence reveals that they want to do something spectacular in J&K before this, and have even told the Hurriyat and the separatists to do some mega mischief. Keeping that in mind, all your security alerts have been issued across the nation, airports, railway stations, elsewhere. The BSF is on alert, the army is on alert. All this notwithstanding, these are major concerns that to protect the life and property of the nation, and also to enhance India's stance that we are going to take very strongly in the United Nations. On the 26th, when Sushma Swaraj speaks, I am very certain that she will tear to shreds the viewpoint of the Pakistani government and the Pakistani Prime Minister. But the nation that happens to be our neighbor continues to do what they are good at, irrespective of the fact that they realize that they've been exposed to the entire world, they are being condemned by the world over, unless and until Pakistan's all-weather friend China also joins in such condemnation. China ought to realize that in years ahead, the biggest threat to China would be from the Pakistani-based terrorists.
Right.
Even today it started happening in Xinjiang and Uyghur. They are
Right.
all being trained by the Pakistanis in the same area. And
Right.
terrorists have no love lost for either Pakistan or for China.
Right.
They only want to do what they
Create
want
terror.
to do for perpetuating their designs.
Right. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is continuously saying, the biggest threat to the world today is terrorism. Well, we have defense experts saying that this attack should be seen in two contexts. Firstly, the fact that the separatist movement in Kashmir is weakening. And secondly, as you said, about diverting international attention on Kashmir before bringing it up in the United Nations. Would you agree with the fact that the separatist movement in Kashmir is weakening as a result of various efforts, you know, that we've seen that the government is taking?
As per my perception, the separatist movement in Kashmir will weaken and will break up in totality. It is unfortunate that the past governments, and even the present government up to a point, themselves gave importance to these separatists. We giving them all types of security cover, we giving them all sorts of health cover, we giving them protection, we give them airport perks, etc. Every time they fly in and fly out, we are looking after them. The nation is expending so much of money and resources on those who never hesitate in openly saying that they want to break up India, that they want to take Kashmir out of India and link it with Pakistan. So it's now the time for such people to be absolutely and totally taken aside. Initially, as a short term, things may go from little bad to worse, but mid-term and long-term situation will improve immensely. But we've got to take that step and make them irrelevant as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned.
Right. Finally, our heart goes out to the families of those who lost their lives in this ghastly attack. And as of now, the latest news is that the defense minister is holding a high-level meeting. Defense minister will be leaving for Srinagar shortly, as General Dalbir Singh. So a big task ahead of him. Wouldn't that be correct to say?
My only appeal to the Prime Minister and the politicians, that every time a thing like this happens, there is lip service and sympathy towards those who are laying down their lives to uphold the dignity, the integrity, the homogeneity and the pride of the nation. Days thereafter, everything is forgotten, and the next of kin who ought to be taken care of by the Indian nation is never done. And each pay commission, if you notice,
right, and the need of the hour is not just, you know, to remember those who have given down their lives, but to take a very practical approach to deal with the problem in the best way that is possible.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. In fact, some of the major lessons of Kargil war, where we ought to have a chief of defence staff who becomes a single source or single point of action with the government of India. We still haven't done it. All major armed forces the world across have got a chief of defence staff. It is the politicians who continue to play mischief.
Right.
It is the bureaucrats who continue to play the mischief. It is time that the politicians take a political decision on such things.
Right.
And give to the nation that the nation deserves, so that it can occupy its rightful place in the comity of nations in concert with its economic clout, its demographic clout, its geographic clout, and growing military might.
Right. So thank you very much for joining us there. That's all we have time for. And that was our guest, our special guest, defense expert, Mr. Major General retired Mr. Sehgal, and talking with us about the Uri terror attack, which claimed the lives of 17 security men and injured 19 others. Well, it's time now.